been a while, but today I have the Star Trek The Next Generation Shuttlecraft Galileo, which is labeled as the Captain's Armed Auxiliary Ship, which is not exactly true. Gull wing hatches open for boarding, pop-up sensor unit, slide-out phaser cannons, and carries 6 Star Trek The Next Generation action figures. And I have a couple figures pulled out to match what they have on here that I'll also open up. See, these are by Galoob. The copyright on these lists 1989, while the Next Generation debuted in 87. So there's a bit of a gap in between. Galoob made the first run of Next Generation merchandise that was then later taken over by Playmates, which made just every character and every variation you can ever think of, and just mounds and mounds of Riker-shaped plastic out there. So on the back we have a kind of a synopsis of the show, 78 years after the original mission, the all-new USS Enterprise and her crew, yada yada, no man has gone before. It looks like these are all the season 1 headshots, even though this is like 2 years into the run of the show. Of course it's Picard, Riker, Data, Geordi, Yar. Yeah, which it has to be season 1 because I don't think Yar even survived the first season when she was killed in Skin of Evil, which involved a shuttlecraft very much like this one when they looked like an Astro van from the 80s. I don't believe they ever made a Wesley Crusher figure. The Ferengi, Anakin, Sile, and Q were all produced. Not sure about the Romulan, but this dude's actually the guy that played Gul Dukat, the Cardassian on DS9, because there's only so many actors that I guess are willing to put on all this crap, and they just kept them all in the family. These guys are actually more valuable of the line. The aliens, they must have been kind of like short packed or something with the main crew. They also made a phaser weapon, battery operated, the really great die-cast Enterprise D that had the saucer separation and everything. I remember having this and loved it because it was pretty big and quite heavy. The Ferengi fighter, which is just I think it's a Marauder class, isn't that right? Ferengi ship. This has some serious scale problems because that's a canopy now. And a die-cast Ferengi battleship, which I never actually saw in stores and don't recall if it was made or not. So there's a technical file on the shuttle itself. It's the Galileo, of course, because of the original series episode, the Galileo 7. Type shuttlecraft, USS Enterprise, 8.5 meters. Crew 2, passengers 8. Which makes it 10, while this holds... No, here it says it carries 4 figures. Yeah. Well, that's the rear, and the front seats 2, so 6, even though they say 10 here. Matter-antimatter warp drive, dilithium crystal controlled with impulse drive. Phaser weapons, warp 1, maximum speed, emergency speed warp 1.5, which I wouldn't ever try on a Star Trek shuttle because those things are just made to explode. Now, before I open this was a problematic eBay purchase. The dude had listed it as new, which on eBay, if you look, means unopened, unused, still sealed, which it was not. And when I peeked inside, I mean, it's been packed with bubble wrap and stuff, so clearly the jackass was a liar. But here we have the shuttlecraft body itself, which has some kind of fogging and scuffing on the window. Looks like some paint wear on the nose here. Lots of difference already from the box model. Like the warp nacelles here are quite detailed and nicely painted with the red. I'm such a nerd. I know this is a Bussard Ram scoop, and I know it's supposed to be red, but these are just one color orange, but at least they are painted. So the rest of the things in here looks like some tattered parchment here. from the days of long ago. This looks like it's been chewed on by something. Looks like mostly sticker instructions and some how to open all the hatches. Lift and rotate the sensor unit on top. Calls it a sensor unit, but it looks like a cannon to me. The sticker sheet was included in a high-end Ziploc. Ooh, these are in rough shape. We'll see if they stick. So if you can believe it, this is the Galileo with all of his stickers applied, or at least all the stickers that came with the one I received. According to the instructions, there is a sticker number 3 that is the Enterprise's registry number. It's supposed to go on the sides, but as you can see on the sticker sheet, there is 1, 2, 4, and 5. There is no 3. So either it didn't include it and because the guy opened it, or that was an oversight. Who knows? But really there isn't much to speak of in stickers. There's this fake window, some blinkers on both sides, and inside the gull wing doors there is some stickers that went onto the but as you can see, it's pretty simple inside. There's just this thin piece of plastic that separates the cargo area from the recliner seats up front. But both sides have the gull wing doors. There's also a ramp in the back, which is pretty cheap assembly as well. The sensor pod that it speaks of pops out on the top and then slides forward. You can't tell me that that is actually not some kind of weapon, because any kid that had this, I guarantee you, used that as a weapon and not a sensor pod. On the undercarriage here, there's these phaser cannons that are supposed to slide out, and they slide forward a whole like 1/4 of an inch. I guess that makes a difference. Yeah. Altogether, it's extremely disappointing. I was hoping for a lot more. Like, it doesn't even include the stickers that have the name of the shuttle on it, the Galileo. And it's really just kind of a barge. But the figures they featured it with on the front of the box were Picard, captain of the USS Enterprise. And you see here it doesn't list Wesley Crusher. And these are in copyright 1988, so these came out a year before the vehicles, which aren't even listed on the cross-sell on the back. No Wesley Crusher, and only the evil Ferengi leader. Jean-Luc Picard, already a 24th century legend for his incredible 22-year voyage as mission commander and ship's captain on the historic deep space charting vessel USS Stargazer. In command of the powerful new USS Enterprise, Captain Picard is headed for the most exciting adventures of his life. Which is true. We learn all about Picard and his sordid past of playing Dom Jot and getting stabbed through the back and has an artificial heart and all that jazz. It just occurred to me that there was no Beverly Crusher figure. I wonder if that was on purpose, since they've actually fired her after the first season. So these guys are pretty rudimentary. Shoulder joints, but they do have a knee. Really quite rubbery, but there's no sweating or anything. Picard does look like he is just over it though, since he's rolling his eyes. They all came with this tricorder that was on a lanyard, but the problem with that was, you know, not exactly an adventuring kind of look to that. They also all came with a molded phaser in their hand when the phasers looked like the Dustbusters from the original first season. Next up is Riker, who is so tall his head is popping out of the top of his bubble practically, which I do have to give them props for varying the heights, which means there's custom sculpts for each one of these guys. Number 1, in quotes, officer of the USS Enterprise starship. As number 1 officer, or first officer, of the USS Enterprise under Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Commander Riker is responsible for maintaining the ship and her crew in top condition. He is also in command of, quote, away teams, unquote, the landing parties beaming down into the middle of the action. So this is Riker in his depowered state before he grew his beard. I'm noticing they all kind of have this disturbingly jaundiced looking lips. For the size, I guess it's not a great likeness. Got some paint rubs on him. Ew. And he's got some kind of growth in his armpit here. So there's a big factory error, which is... I don't even know where that paint would have... That's the phaser color. Somebody's straight up missed. And there's no Dr. Crusher to treat that growth in his armpits. And here we have early Geordi LaForge, who is the super-sighted officer of the USS Enterprise starship. I did just notice that posable is in all caps as a feature here. And this is red uniform Geordi before he became the chief engineer, because he was ops on the bridge, I believe. He's a lieutenant junior grade, origin is Earth, Afro-American descent. Blind from birth, Lieutenant LaForge has been fitted with vision apparatus that enables him to, quote, see the entire spectrum from heat to visible light to high-frequency ultraviolet, capable of performing some of the functions of a tricorder, trademark, analyzer. Lieutenant LaForge makes normal humans seem hopelessly blind by comparison. I guess that's fair. Although whenever you did see Geordi vision, it did just kind of look like a jumbled mess of what the Predator sees. So Geordi doesn't have yellow lips, he's instead got wine-stained lips. He's carrying his phaser in the left hand, so he's got his strange kind of train conductor arm on the other side. A lot of these guys are kind of pigeon-toed. I'm not sure if that's just warping from age, but I seem to remember that because I had these guys when they were new, and it was a similar problem. And lastly, my favorite, Lieutenant Worf, Klingon officer of the USS Enterprise starship. Posable. So for some reason, Worf's headshot was extremely shifted to the blue side of things as opposed to everybody else's. Name, Worf. Rank, Lieutenant. Duty, Science Officer, USS Enterprise. This is before he was the tactical officer in his yellow uniform. Origin, Klingon. Okay. I could really get anal retentive nerd about this and say that the Klingon homeworld is Kronos, and it is actually Worf, son of Moog, a member of the warrior race that was once the mortal enemy of the Federation, but now its ally. Lieutenant Worf operates the science, environmental, and propulsion stations aboard the USS Enterprise starship. Some of these stations on the new bridge were very multi-purpose. The personnel of Starfleet are glad to have his extraordinary powers on their side. Who is also a lefty. He has his Klingon sash that looks a lot more like the Klingons from the original series with the frills. They later changed it to much more like a chain link thing that looked a lot cooler. But his likeness isn't too bad. They kind of added a highlight on his forehead ridges. If anybody should be rolling his eyes, it would probably be Worf. And he looks like he's about the same height as Riker, while Geordi is a bit shorter. He seems to be the shortest one. So here again is the cover of the box with all the characters posed, and somewhat of a recreation here with this much crappier looking actual production toy. You can see the view screen viewports here are one piece, see-through. This is opaque plastic and has a painted area joining the two that doesn't really work. Missing stickers. You can't really make the gang plate. No, you can kind of half stand over. I don't know why you'd want to. And Geordi's riding in the back seat there. It doesn't even come with the Starfleet insignia here, and I just double checked, and that's not even listed on the instructions as being there. So they really crapped it up here. Very disappointing. I was really looking forward to this one. and it's a real piece of junk. So if you're ever in the mood to collect Star Trek The Next Generation toys, I'd say stick to the figures, the die-cast stuff, and the phaser toy. I believe there was a bridge set too, but I'd have to double check that. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I also have the Ferengi shuttle pod, which I'm already regretting, so I'm assuming that's going to be a humongous disappointment as well. So good to be back making videos again, and more to come soon.